Over 30 still trapped 3 weeks after Niger mining pit collapse. National Assembly approves supplementary budget extension despite rising debt profile. Students plead for resolution amid tensions between ASUU and federal government over 2009 agreement. And on the international scene, low turnout at Nairobi protest over fears of violence. Good evening. Welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Sumaya Abubakar. And now the details. More than 3 weeks after a mining pit collapsed in Galkoko Shiroro local government area of Niger State, over 30 miners have remained trapped. While government agencies, including the police, claimed that about 20 people were trapped and 6 had been rescued, the families and locals insisted that 50 individuals were trapped. They said the 6 people were not rescued as claimed by government officials, but managed to escape before the pit fully caved in. Reports said that the recovery effort has resumed, but is being done manually. The families of the victims expressed frustrations over the slow progress and lack of government's involvement in the rescue efforts. Laborers were working inside the 400-meter deep pit owned by an African Minerals and Logistics Limited when it caved in on June 3rd after a heavy rain the previous day. And now we have a Daily Trust reporter, Abubakar Akoche in Niger State, joining us to give us the update of the situation. Good evening, Abubakar Akoche.
Good evening.
Of course. So what can you tell us about the ongoing rescue mission and efforts to save the remaining trapped victims?
The available information showed that the rescue, or let's say recovery operation, has resumed because Ministry of Humanitarian said search and rescue operation has ended. What is going on now is the recovery of victims, perhaps the dead bodies, and so far 4 bodies, mutilated bodies, have been recovered. 2 were recovered on Monday, and 2 others were recovered on Tuesday. And the rescue operation, the recovery operation is still ongoing, but it's being done manually by laborers.
Yeah, so you must have interacted with the families of these miners, the victims of this incident. So what are they saying about this situation?
The families are grieved, and they have expressed anger over the slow pace of the recovery. Some of them I spoke with were not happy that the right instruments were not deployed from the beginning to save the life of the victims. And they wonder why such kind of pits where people are trapped in should again be dug by should be dug manually by laborers instead of government and the company deploying instruments such as excavator. Although I was told that the excavator was taken to the site, but due to the depth of the pit, the excavator cannot stretch to where the victims have been trapped about 400 feet. So they have to deploy the laborers who are now removing the stones gradually, one after the other, and then to be able to remove the bodies from the ground.
That is really a really sad, picture you're painting right there. But what are the authorities saying with this slow, even with the efforts being made, but it still seems to be slow. What are they saying about this situation? How hard and difficult is it for them?
As of yesterday, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, through the Director of Media and Strategy, Bibu Bakar Ushishi, said the reason why the recovery operation is slow is because of the nature of the pit, and they are afraid that if machines should be deployed, the pit may end up collapsing again, and then they will will worsen the situation. So as of yesterday, they said everything has to be done gradually because the point they are now, as I've said, they are no longer searching and rescuing the victims. They are recovering. They're going to believe that by now, more than 3 weeks now, victims are none of them to their life. And that is also confirmed by so far the number of bodies that have been recovered because the residents, the families, also confirmed to me that the bodies that were recovered yesterday, Monday and Tuesday, were mutilated. They have to apply chemicals because of unpleasant odors coming out from the pit before the laborers that they are deployed can even work, which shows that there is no hope that any of them will still be alive. Although a wife to one of the victims said she still has hope that her husband will be alive, but we are hoping so, and we look forward to see when the remaining people will be rescued to see if they will still have some that are still alive.
Yeah, we hope to get that good news. Thank you so much, Abubakar Akote, for joining us to give us update on this situation.
Yeah, thank you.
We're moving on from that situation. The Senate has denied granting approval for the purchase of a new presidential jet for President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima. According to the Senate, the clarification against the imperative, it has become imperative following false reports that President Tinubu was seeking the National Assembly approval of funds for the purchase of a new presidential jet. The report.
The Nigerian Senate has denied approving the purchase of new presidential jet for President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima as speculated. There were reports that President Tinubu was seeking the National Assembly's approval of funds for the purchase of a new presidential jet. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during Thursday's emergency plenary session clarified that there is the presence of a fifth columnist doing everything possible to destabilize the parliament. The President of the Senate said this in corroboration of observations raised by the leader of the Senate, Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, that the Senate purports to give backing towards the procurement of a new presidential aircraft.
It had never been discussed either on the floor of this Senate or among individual senators or at the executive's closed session. There is no such request. If the request comes, it's not about Mr. President of the Senate alone. It's for 469 elected representatives of the Nigerian people.
I was in Zanzibar attending to interparliamentary union meetings when that information went out that the Senate President has said he will approve a brand new plan for the President irrespective of whether there is suffering or no suffering.
The senators had cut short their recess, which was to elapse on July 2nd, 2024, and returned for an emergency session to consider a bill for an act to amend the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Act to further extend its implementation to December 31st, 2024, as requested by President Tinubu.
The Senate has expeditiously passed for second and third readings an executive bill seeking to extend the implementation of the 2023 Appropriation Bill and Act as the 2023 Supplementary Act to further extend the implementation of the June 30th to December 30th, 2024. Trust TV's Sagir Ibrahim, the Senate correspondent, also who witnessed these proceedings on Thursday's plenary, brings us the details. Take a look.
Executive bill sponsored to that effect and read by the leader of the Senate, Okpeyemi Bamidele, seeks to further extend the implementation of the 2023 budget and the 2023 supplementary budget from June 30th to the 31st of December 2024. Senator Bamidele, who read the lead debate, says the amendment seeks to further extend the capital component of the budget while calling for support from his colleagues.
This will go a long way to avoid the compounding problems of abandoned projects. Hence, the need for the enactment of these proposed legislations to extend the implementation.
During their contributions, some lawmakers drummed support for the expeditious passage of the bill. However, others raised concerns around the possibility of corruption, especially regarding the recurrent side of the budget.
In passing the budget, put a clause that those to be employed, the projects to be implemented are purely that of capital or maybe selected recurrent, if any. But if we do it blankly, like that, I have reliable information that items that are recurrent in the previous year budget are being implemented because there is a blank check given to them.
Capital items should be the items that we should concentrate more in extending rather than extending both capital and recurrent.
The budget is not selective. The budget is all encompassing. You have to be one thing. Because the budget is one. You cannot select some item. Which one are you going to leave? We have approved a budget here, and you cannot go back to select some few items. It's going to be bad for this system.
I think we should resolve to allow this bill to pass appropriately, knowing that the executive should be able to execute the budget and appropriately do so. And they owe Nigerians explanation. If we pass the budget and they can't implement, they owe us and Nigerians explanation.
Responding, the Senate President addressed some of the concerns the lawmakers raised, assuring them that Nigeria's anti-corruption agencies are competent enough to identify and prosecute infractions.
All the agencies of government have different jobs to do. But I take cognizance of what you have just said. But the other issues of implementation are left to the executive. Then the issue of oversight is left to the legislature. We are going to do the oversight and be sure of what they are doing. And from time to time, we are here. They will bring their reports, and then they will bring their findings, and we'll look into those findings.
The Senate President, upon a motion moved and seconded, reverted to the Committee on Supply for clause-by-clause consideration, after which both bills were concurrently passed for second and third readings upon suspension of Section 78 Sub 1 of the Senate Rulebook. Recall that in March 2024, President Bola Tinubu had also requested the National Assembly to extend implementation of the 2023 Appropriations Act and the 2023 Supplementary Appropriations Act to June 2024 for similar reasons. From the Red Chamber of the National Assembly, Sagir Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The House of Representatives has approved President Tinubu's request to extend implementation of the capital aspect of the 2023 budget to 31st December 2024. The House also passed another executive bill to extend the 2023 supplementary budget to 31st December 2023. The report. A few minutes after the commencement of plenary on Tuesday and the introduction of the two bills by the House leader, Julius Ihombere, the House dissolved into an executive session to deliberate on the request from the President to extend the lifespan of the capital component of the 2023 budget and the 2023 supplementary budget to 31st December 2024. The passage of the two bills will be the third time the lifespan of the capital component of the budget and the supplementary budget will be extended. It was first extended to March 31st, 2024 and later shifted to June 30th, 2024. Leading the debate on the two bills, Ihombere described them as straightforward and aimed at ensuring the completion of all ongoing capital projects captured in the two documents.
This is a fairly straightforward request, which entails not altering the content of the budget, but essentially the dates to allow for effective implementation to the benefit of Nigeria and all Nigerians. That essentially the dates be adjusted from 30th June 2024 to 31st December 2024.
The minority leader of the House, Kingsley Chinda, had argued that while it is legally okay to extend the capital component of the budget, it is morally wrong to have about 4 budgets running simultaneously.
We will not just criticize, but profile an alternative, sir. And therefore, I will suggest that the House leader steps down this bill, and then we go back to the drawing board look at it, all the projects that are contained in 2023 budget and 2023 supplementary budget, we take them over to the 2024 supplementary budget so that we can have just 2 budgets running in the country.
Also, the former leader of the House, Al-Hassan Ado-Dogowa, said while the House approves the President's request and extends the lifespan of the budget, there is the need for the House to pass a message to the Presidency on why they should put their acts together.
You have 2 substantive budgets, 2023 being extended to 31st of December and running them concurrently. You have other supplementary budgets being carried also at the same time, Mr. Speaker. I want to say without any fear of contradiction that they may be legal, but that moral feeling, that moral responsibility, Mr. Speaker, that moral questions will always be raised.
After the executive session, the Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, appealed to members to approve the passage of the extension of the capital component to allow for procurement of items contained in it, which he said are more security related.
And in so doing, we have approved clauses 1 and 2, clause 3 as amended, explanatory memorandum, and the long title of the bill.
Lawmakers expeditiously approved the executive bills to enable the federal government to complete critical projects after consideration of the bills at the Committee on Supply, chaired by Speaker Abbas Tajuddin. The federal government says it has released 1.5 million bags of fertilizer to the state government as part of measures to improve food security and curb inflation. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kari, revealed this to newsmen at State House Abuja after a meeting of the National Economic Council. He spoke on a day that the reconstituted NEC ad hoc committee on flood erosion, drought and desertification submitted its report to President Bola Tinubu. Kende Amodu reports.
To ensure the success of President Tinubu's roadmap on food security, the Food Systems Coordinating Unit has been set up to work under the Presidential Economic Council. The unit is working with state governments to boost agriculture through various mechanization intervention programs undertaken by the federal government to address food crisis.
Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, I also briefed Council on the so far the interventions on the 42,000 metric tons of which all have been delivered to all the states, and then 20 trailers of rice per state, and then we have also released over 1,500,000 bags of fertilizer, which is under evacuation by the state governments.
Far-reaching recommendations have been made by the reconstituted NEC ad hoc committee on flood, erosion, drought, and desertification, which submitted its report to President Tinubu, who attended the council. It contains far-reaching recommendations on how best Nigeria can effectively respond to flooding and other natural disasters.
Today, the committee has committed its reports with recommendations to the council, and I'm happy to let you know that the council has approved the recommendations, and Mr. President is quite happy about the report, and he has promised to look into the report with its recommendations for immediate implementation.
Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, provided update on the status of the excess crude account, which currently stands at $500,000, with 22.7 billion naira in the stabilization account, while the Natural Resources Development Fund has 53.9 billion naira.
As of now, there's basically $500,000 in that account, $500,000 US. The stabilization account has 28.7 billion naira, and the Natural Resources Development Fund has 53.9 billion naira. In addition to that, the National Economic Council was told of the progress that has been made
with the updating and improving of the social register, which of course is the register used to send direct payments to beneficiaries.
Meanwhile, NEC has approved the nomination of board members for the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, which cuts across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
On health matters, the Katsina State government says it has recorded no fewer than 118 suspected cases of cholera disease across the state. To this end, the state government says it is adopting strategies to prevent the spread of the disease and order vaccines preventable outbreaks across the state. Abdullahi Yamadi completes the report.
This is not the first time the state government is coming out to announce outbreaks of diseases, but this latest pronouncement appears more serious due to the danger cholera poses whenever it strikes. The Kano State Primary Health Care Agency officials appeared a bit disturbed, saying they are fully prepared to cut short the spread of the epidemic and manage cases already recorded. Beyond that, the government said it has activated its incident management system to effectively tame the scourge in the next couple of days.
You know, when you have disease, normally one of the best practice globally is the activation of incident management system. And this system entails, you know, a coordinated approach using different strategies. One of the best strategies that we use is issue of strengthening surveillance, which I've already discussed, issue of detecting cases promptly, then other issues of laboratory. We have groups that are in charge of that. Others is infection prevention and control. We want to ensure that this infection, if it happens, it doesn't really spread.
Though no life has been lost following the outbreak, the government says 34 comprehensive health centers with cholera treatment units and centers have been designated for admission and treatment of the victims. The incident manager director in the Kano State Primary Health Care Agency, Kabir Suleiman, said, beside this, the government is also looking at some alternatives such as improvement in wash facilities, solarization and rehabilitation of boreholes across the state.
Katsina, as you are aware, is one of the states that is termed as high risk for cholera based on the global task force on GTFCC, the global task force for cholera control. Katsina has 10 of its LGAs that are termed very high risk. Funtua, Jibia, Bazari, and Tumamshan and few. So these are areas that we're really focusing. We have designated 34 comprehensive health centers for receiving, for admission of cases of cholera.
Global Task Force for Cholera Control shows that Katsina has 10 of its local government areas termed as high risk, with Funtua, Bazari, and Jibia topping the list. Public commentators view this task as challenging, considering the fact that more than half of the local government areas in Kano State are prone to insecurity. Abdullahi Yamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, has reported a surge in cholera cases and associated deaths across 32 states and 115 local government areas in the country. According to the Deputy Director of Surveillance at NCDC and National Incident Manager, Muntari Hassan, the total number of fatalities has risen to 54, with 1,579 suspected cases documented since the beginning of the year. As of June 23, 2024, the NCDC reported 53 deaths and 1,528 suspected cases of cholera across 31 states and 107 local government areas, with a case fatality rate of 3.5%. The NCDC said it continues to monitor the situation and has activated a multi-sectoral National Cholera Emergency Operations Center, the EOC, to coordinate the response to the outbreak. The agency also said it was working closely with state governments, healthcare workers, and other stakeholders to ensure a rapid and effective response to the outbreak. It advised the public to take precautions to prevent the spread of cholera by boiling and storing water in a clean and safe container before drinking. The immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, has asked the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Abuja, Justice John Sofo, to transfer his trial in alleged money laundering to Lokoja. Bello said that he preferred to be arraigned in Lokoja, being the place that the alleged money laundering offense was committed. At a resumed hearing on Thursday, Bello, represented by his counsel, Adeola Adedipe, San, informed Justice Emeka Nwete that a letter requesting for the transfer of the trial had already been delivered to the Chief Judge for his administrative decision. Adedipe said the legal team of the former Kogi governor was still waiting the response of the Chief Judge on the request for transfer of the case to Lokoja. However, the request for transfer was vehemently opposed by the EFCC lead counsel, Kemi Pinheiro, who described the request as an attempt to frustrate the trial. Meanwhile, the court has fixed July 17th for arraignment of the former governor and ruling on the request of the EFCC to cite the senior lawyers for contempt. The EFCC is seeking to arraign Bello on 19 counts bordering on alleged money laundering, breach of trust, and misappropriation of funds to the tune of 80.2 billion naira. This is News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up, students plead for resolution amid tensions between ASUU and federal government over 2009 agreement. This and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a recap of our top stories. We brought you over 30 still trapped 3 weeks after Niger mining pit collapse. A National Assembly approved supplementary budget extension despite rising debt profile. Moving on to security matters, the Kano State Police Command has conducted its largest parade to date, showcasing over 1,000 suspects alleged to have committed various offenses. During the parade, the Kano State Commissioner of Police, Ali Dabigi, alongside the Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, emphasized the command's commitment to thoroughly root out criminal elements within the state. The report.
Blessing Ango and Annabel John, 2 point-of-sale operators who have both been defrauded of over ₦1 million, shared their experiences as the Kaduna State Police Command paraded over 1,000 suspects, including those who defrauded them.
He came to my shop that he wants to withdraw with army uniform. So when I turned back, I carried my bag, I carried my POS, I wanted to withdraw for him. He now removed knife, that I should give him that my bag that is with money inside. I should give him my bag. I refused, I was dragging. He now removed the knife, he wanted to choke me the knife and now scream. I shout, "Thief, oh, help me, help me."
He put on army clothes, he picked my bag and money inside and my item was worth 800,000.
I'm fascinating as a military man, so that I can collect money from POS people in sabotation.
Go ahead.
That is what I do.
Tell us how do you operate?
I will disguise myself as a military man. And after them trusting me, then I will collect their property.
The suspect paraded include 73 armed robbery suspects, 70 kidnappers, 9 bandits, 989 fund snatchers, as well as several suspects specializing in defrauding POS operators.
5 months ago, that is when we collaborate together with them. So when we move from a hotel to another hotel, before we move to the hotel, we will communicate between ourselves, then and make an arrangement of the time. After making arrangement, that is when we meet and go for the operation.
Na so ta ne daga Jos
I bought the AK-47 rifle from Jos, and I was to deliver it to one Rayanu in Katsina, but I was arrested at night in Zaria. In another significant breakthrough, the police arrested a woman transporting approximately 2,000 rounds of ammunition to bandits, leading to the capture of 9 bandits involved in the syndicate. The Commissioner of Police Ali Dabigi and Commissioner of Internal Security Samuel Arwan attributed the success of the operations to the collaboration with other sister agencies and called for continued cooperation.
I was arrested because of the ammunition found in my possession. I transported ammunition to the forest 3 times. A man called Wawo brought me a bag which he said was a fertilizer, and I gave it to a driver who took them to Katsina. The second time, I took them to Katsina where I slept. This time around, I was arrested with the arms. They pay me 50,000 naira for each trip, and I usually deliver them at Dan Musa.
Operatives acting on intelligence report intercepted and arrested one Aisha Abubakar. She says she's a married woman. She is 25 years, from Kubwa, Abuja. She was found with 550 rounds of AK-47 live ammunition. We call it 7.62 live, which she collected from a man named Mohammed from Loko, Nasarawa State, and was transporting the ammunition from Nasarawa to Katsina State. She was intercepted here in Kaduna based on credible intelligence.
Indeed impressed, and we're also happy with the hard work that the Kaduna State Police Command is putting in ensuring that we contain this situation. You can see for yourselves, you can see 1,817 rounds of AK-47 live ammunition. Imagine if this has slipped its way to bandits.
The command also commended community members for providing valuable information leading to the arrest of suspects and assured them of confidentiality. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Troops of the Nigerian army deployed for operations in Ebonyi State have thwarted an attack by suspected members of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra on Isheke police station. The IPOF fighters were said to have invaded the station and torched the facility as well as several vehicles on the premises. In a statement posted on Thursday on X, the service said its troops on arrival at the scene engaged the IPOF fighters in a gun duel. The army added that the fighters were overpowered, adding that 5 of them were killed while others fled the scene. The army also said troops recovered several dangerous weapons from the fighters. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has predicted high and moderate floodings in some parts of Kwara State. To this end, it is asking residents of identified flood-prone areas to relocate to avoid casualties. The report.
The Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency's 2024 annual flood outlook indicates that 31 state and 148 local government areas have been predicted to be with high flood risk areas. Patigi, Edu, Kayama, Asa and Baruten local government areas of Kwara State are among the high and moderate risk areas. The need to put the leaders of these areas on high alert necessitated this meeting conveyed by the National Emergency Management Agency. The director of the agency, Zubaida Umar, says the early warning signs should not be taken lightly. Represented by the Director, Disaster Risk Reduction, Daniel Obot, the NEMA DG wants the states to take proactive measures against floods.
I call for support in this initiative of downscaling, flood early warning, and risk mitigation strategies to the grassroots. For those who are not here to understand,
Kano State government is making a strong case for frequent dredging of the River Niger, building of more buffers and afforestation to stem the dangers of flooding in communities.
When you have these materials at the bed of the river, they contain less water. So the moment they have little water coming up, it will overflow because the volume of the river has been greatly reduced.
Representatives of the flood-prone communities equally appeal for early relocation of people and subsequently permanent solution to the menace.
With the immediate community in Jeba, it is annually that we always witness such incidents. And we have been appealing to the appropriate bodies that all those in riverine area, they should try to relocate them to better environment.
Relocation of our prone communities. When you come to Patigi local government, going to the prone areas, you can have about close to more than 50 communities across the 3 districts of Patigi local government, Lade, Patigi, Bada districts, that are vulnerable communities that with little flood, the whole community is covered.
The meeting underscores the need for effective early action to save lives and also secure residents' means of livelihood during this rainy season.
On education, the Academic Union of Universities, ASUU, has once again appealed to the federal government to implement agreements reached with the union to avert another strike. At separate press conferences, the University of Ilorin and the Kano State University called for funding of existing universities instead of establishing new ones that cannot be catered for. The report.
Since 2019, when both the federal government and members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, entered and signed various agreements on the welfare and need to improve infrastructures across the universities, several strikes have been embarked upon following government's inability to implement the agreements. Addressing journalists, the University of Ilorin branch of ASUU listed several of their requests that are yet to be met.
Federal government ASUU renegotiation of 2009 agreement. It is no longer a secret that our negotiated take-home pay since 2009 has not changed 15 years ago. The government, instead of committing itself to negotiated welfare package, including our take-home, revitalization of our institutions and proper funding, in addition to stoppage of proliferations of institutions without structure to support such, has conscientiously maintained lines of frustration, blackmail, and use of hunger as a weapon to demystify the essence of our struggle.
Similarly, the Kano State University branch also appealed to education stakeholders to prevail on the federal government to see reason not to ground the education system, wondering why new universities are being approved when old ones are being neglected.
ASUU is not strike mongers. We don't want strike. But by the time we are forced to take actions, in most Nigerian universities, our members are still, the salaries, 3.5 months of the salaries were still withheld, having completed the curriculum. So all we're canvassing, all we're saying is that the government should immediately pay back our 3.5 months salaries.
The two branches moved around their campuses with various inscriptions saying they do not love or enjoy going on strike, except as a last resort.
Students of tertiary institutions, especially universities in Benue State, have appealed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities, the ASUU, and the federal government to resolve differences in order to ensure that academic activities are not halted in public universities. They made the appeal following calls by ASUU for another strike action over unmet demands. Jamie Atsande reports.
While some of the students are saying ASUU's continued resort to strike is not the best option for negotiating welfare issues, others, however, feel the government is not keeping up with its obligations to the universities, hence the calls for strike.
The houses
ASUU, without finalizing with the government, will cause students to come back. All this involves money, and then you and I know the situation, the current situation of things in the country right now. So, calling us to go on strike, calling us back without finalizing, and then embarking on another strike. In this case, I want to put the blame on ASUU because they are not considering the welfare and then the condition of things on the part of the students.
And on our side, the students, we are the ones suffering it. The government is supposed to do the needful in order for the people to be peace. If what they are supposed to give to the workers they are not giving, it won't be good at all. They should try and do the right thing so that everything will be in order.
Others are worried about the consequences of another strike action and urge ASUU and the federal government to sort out all lingering issues once and for all.
They should consider that students are suffering on the other part. They are suffering. Some have paid for their rentage and is going to be expired. And some, in one way or the other, are being affected by a lot of things. Some are final year students. They were to get some jobs. But because this strike is going on, they can't graduate on time. So ASUU should consider, they should go on negotiation. A lasting solution should be provided so that we will not be experiencing consistent strike.
Why will ASUU allow us to go home after they are discussing with the federal government? They will still tell us to come back after we have spent a lot to come back. Without being finalizing anything with the government, they will decide to call the students to come back and continue with their academics. After coming back, they are now telling us to still go back on strike again. I think this is not fair. ASUU should go on strike and then conclude everything with the federal government. If the agreement is not reached, they should not call us to resume. If the agreement is not reached with the federal government, they should just allow us to stay home. When they finalize everything with the federal government by reaching the agreement they think is the best for us and for them, they should allow us to come back and continue with our studies in peace.
At the moment, the students are jittery as another indefinite strike by the university teaching staff in Nigeria looms. Jimmy Azandi, Trust TV News, Makurdi.
The Nigerian Education Loan Fund has approved the disbursement of federal government-backed student loan. In a press statement published on its X platform on Thursday, the directive was given following its inaugural board meeting in Abuja on Wednesday. A statement signed by its head media and public relations, Nasir Ayitogo, said the meeting marked a significant milestone in the organization's commitment to empowering students through financial support. The inaugural meeting also set the stage for future initiatives aimed at enhancing educational opportunities and providing comprehensive support to students across various disciplines. The development comes days after reports that NELFund announced a 14-day postponement of the application process for student loans for state institutions due to low data submissions. Ayitogo on Tuesday said the decision was necessitated by the failure of several state-owned institutions to upload the required students' data and fee information to the NELFund student verification system. Tinubu had on April 3, 2024, signed the Student Loans Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024 into law. Some stakeholders in the cryptocurrency sector in Nigeria have rejoined and enjoined Nigerians to embrace cryptocurrencies by investing in the digital asset. This comes as the federal government battles to ensure that their operations are regulated to avoid fraud in the nation's financial sector. The report. All right, let's move on to that one. Let's take Yusuf Akogu for Business News Update.
Welcome to Business News. I am Yusuf Akogu. The United States Agency for International Development on Wednesday said that 85 million Nigerians do not have access to electricity. The agency also said it has mobilized about $4.5 million for on-grid and off-grid power across the country. Mission Director for USAID, Melissa Jones, while speaking at a conference team Powering Nigeria in Lagos, noted that the private sector is key to financing infrastructure development. She added that the lack of access directly impacts Nigeria's ability to achieve meaningful growth, as a lack of reliable electricity limits productivity and restricts economic expansion. The Central Bank of Nigeria has raised 284.26 billion naira from hungry yield investors in the latest Nigeria Treasury bills auction on Wednesday. According to the auction result by the Debt Management Office (DMO), the auction attracted significant investors' interest, with the total subscription amounting to 773.98 billion naira for above the total offer of 228.72 billion naira. As an instrument to implement monetary policy, the CBN can control money supply in the economy by issuing or redeeming treasury bills. Treasury bills also provide means for government to raise short-term funds to finance its operations, including bridging budget deficits. NGS closed in red as sales pressure hit various trading counters on Thursday. Let's see how it went down today. Of course, leading the losers there is Darcom Nigerian PLC, down 8.93% to close at 51 kobo per share. CI Leasing also down as well, 8.54% to close at 3 naira per share. Of course, MTN Nigeria also down 6.89% to close at 200 naira per share. Of course, this has dragged down the market marginally by 0.02%. Volume of trade there, 487.381 million shares, valued at 9.115 billion naira, in a list of 7,445 did exchange hands among investors this Thursday. Of course, looking at the top trading equities there, UACN Nigerian PLC leading the top trading equities there, 46.350 million shares traded. Jitco up there, 40.857 million shares. Of course, Access Corporation, 39.689 million volume of shares is also traded as well. Some equities ended on the gaining side of the market. The leading that table is Seplat. Seplat gained 10% today to close at 3,794 naira and 90 kobo per share. Of course, Curtis Nigeria PLC also gained 10% to close at 4 naira and 40 kobo per share. Of course, Lasaco, an insurance company, gained 9.95% to close at 2 naira and 32 kobo per share there. That's the highlight of stock trading as it went down this Thursday on the floor of NGS. Let's see the global stock market and exchange rate data for today. Oil prices edged higher on Thursday as supply disruption risk from rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East helped to counter demand fears after a surprise build in U.S. stockpiles. At the London market, Brent crude sells for $85 per barrel. For the per basket, dealers offer $86 per barrel. And that's business. I am Yusuf Akogu.
Thank you, Yusuf Akogo, for the update. Still in business, the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency, SMEDEN, says it's partnering the Kano State government to develop small businesses as a way of boosting the economy. SMEDEN disclosed this at a commemorative event marking this year's International Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Day, which is usually marked on the 27th of June every year. The report.
27th of June every year is a day set to celebrate micro, small and medium enterprises. These businesses, often the backbone of a nation's economy, play a crucial role in job creation and development. According to experts, micro businesses alone contribute to over 50% of Nigeria's GDP. This highlights the urgent need to empower these often overlooked engines of growth.
We all know that no meaningful development can take place in any nation without proper support given to the MSMEs. They contribute about 50% to our national GDP as it stands, and they employ almost 80 to 90% of current workforce in the country.
This year, the Kano State government is partnering the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency, SMEDAN, to celebrate the day. Governor Ratna, who also chairs as the Kano State Enterprise Development Agency, emphasized the importance of empowering small businesses, whom he said holds the key to economic development in the future.
And I'm also standing here not only as a governor but as an entrepreneur, as also as a father of MSME in this country. We have no reason to fail because we are to tell each and every person how important MSME is in the life of the economic development of this country.
The newly remodeled Industrial Development Center and MSME business clinics serve as testaments to his commitment.
Our administrations acknowledge the role of artisans and craftsmen play in institutionalizing the desired change needed to remove our youth off the street. This is why we are not only investing heavily in building and scaling up their skills and capacity, but providing a shared facilities for them to optimize their production.
These facilities provide crucial support and resources, creating a nurturing ecosystem for businesses to thrive. Start-up business owners and local artisans echoed the governor's sentiments.
To certainly help strengthening the local economy of the state. Like myself, I'm now established a fertilizer factory, blending factory, made in Katsina, for Katsina, and by Katsina people.
They believe this ecosystem will be a game changer, allowing their businesses to flourish. Jamil Mobay, Trust TV, Katsina.
On the international news, hundreds of protesters gathered in Kenya's capital Nairobi on Thursday, with police firing rubber bullets and tear gas as turnouts by demonstrators dropped sharply following deadly clashes earlier this week. A day after President William Ruto caved into demands by young protesters to withdraw a deeply unpopular tax hike bill, small groups of demonstrators took to the streets calling for the Kenya leader's removal. The scattered crowds, numbering a few hundred at the scene, made their way to Nairobi's business district as soldiers were deployed and police in anti-riot gear blocked access along roads leading to Ruto's office at State House and Parliament. Isolated scuffles broke out between some stone-throwing demonstrators and officers who fired rubber bullets and tear gas, arresting at least 7 people. Let's join Adeni Ajishafe for Sport News Update.
As the date for the commencement of the 2024 Paralympic Games draws near, Paralympic Committee of Nigeria, PCN, has commenced campaign exercise for its athletes. The Paralympic Games will hold between 28 August to 8 September in Paris, France. President of Paralympic Committee of Nigeria, Sunday Odebode, said para-athletics and para-badminton will be in Abuja for their campaign exercise, while para-powerlifting and para-table tennis will camp in Lagos. Paralympic Committee of Nigeria is leaving no stone unturned to ensure adequate preparations for para-sport athletes, hence the decision to commence campaign in earnest. And in rugby, President of the Nigerian Rugby Football Federation, Ademola Are, Secretary Oludare Davies, and 4 home-based players have left Nigeria for Mauritius, the host of the African Cup Rugby Sevens tournament. Christopher John, Etim Gabriel, Sam Esukolo Prince, and Akpabio Samuel will join the foreign-based players who have been training in England. Head coach Steve Lewis emphasized the importance of the training lessons to be fully prepared before Nigerian-based players arrive. The squad for the African Cup Sevens will miss key players, notably the co-captains Declan Uwachuku and Olukolade Awobowale, and former captain Onoru Jato due to injuries, prompting strategic adjustment by the coaching crew. Despite the challenges, the team remains optimistic and determined to do well. The Black Stallions are in Pool A, competing against Kenya, Madagascar and host Mauritius. And in football, Ahead of the President Federation Cup Women Final between Rivers Angels and Nigeria Tales of Abuja at Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos, Rivers Angels coach White Ogbonda is confident his team Rivers Angels will triumph. The former tacticians of Ibom Angels FC of Uyo will be gunning for his first national cup title as head coach, having guided Ibom Angels to runners-up position in 2017 and 2018, losing to Rivers Angels on both occasions. Ogbonda, who tasted victory previously as assistant coach with Rivers Angels in 2014, said the only way to appreciate Rivers State government is to bring the trophy home, insisting that his girls, who have Nigeria under-20 girls forward, Blessing Okpe and Flamingo forward Peace Effiong will not underrate Nigeria Tales. Meanwhile, World Cup bronze medal winning coach Bankole Oluwokere is not afraid ahead of Saturday's women's final of the President Federation Cup against 8-time champions Rivers Angels in Lagos. Bankole believes Nigeria Tales are determined to make history by putting up a good fight against Rivers Angels, 8-time winner of Federation's Cup. Nigeria Tales, the first club from Abuja to reach the Federation Cup final in 24 years. FCT Queens lost to same Rivers Angels in the final of year 2000. The women's final will kick off at 1 p.m. on Saturday, with the men's final to commence at 4 p.m. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we've come to the end of Trust TV News Hour. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news programs and documentaries. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching and do have a good night.